Welcome to Vision Pros, the show all about spatial computing, visionOS, and getting work done on the Apple Vision Pro. I'm Tim Chatton, host of the show. Welcome to the very first episode of Vision Pros. I'm excited for this new platform launching next year with Apple Vision Pro and visionOS 1.0. This show will be very similar to my other show, iPad Pros. But instead of focusing on getting work done on the iPad, this show is all about getting work done on visionOS and the Apple Vision Pro. You'll initially be hearing from developers hard at work making those apps ready for launch next year, and the people that Apple has provided a demo of Apple Vision Pro to. As with the iPad Pros podcast, you'll also be hearing from the users using visionOS to get their work done, and we will explore all the different interesting vertical markets spatial computing extends into. I'm excited to take this journey with you, as this is a very different computing environment that feels like even more of a leap than we had going from the mouse and keyboard to touch-based devices in 2007. It also feels like a form factor that can function both as a laptop and desktop computing environment. An OS that is flexible enough to be both singularly focused like an iPad, but expansive enough to capture the power of the Mac, where you can have a bunch of different windows open in a spacious environment and multitask in powerful new ways. And hopefully, it isn't too crazy difficult to get one of these launch day units whenever Apple Vision Pro does ship in 2024. So welcome to Vision Pros. If you are a developer working on a visionOS app, feel free to reach out to me at tim@visionpros.fm. General feedback of the podcast is welcome there as well. My plan in 2023 is for this show to be a monthly release, and then as we ramp up towards the launch of Apple Vision Pro, for this podcast be every other Thursday, opposite weeks from my other podcast, iPad Pros. Our guest today is Chance Miller. You can hear the first 90 minutes or so of our discussion over on the iPad Pros podcast. We ended up going so long just on Apple Vision Pro that it felt right for this to be its own episode here. Chance is the editor-in-chief at 9to5Mac and was one of the very first people in the world outside of the employees at Apple to try out the headset. If you'd like to support this podcast, as well as iPad Pros, you can head on over to patreon.com/iPadPros or subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts. My thanks to everyone that supports the show. Even $1 a month goes a very long way in helping with the production of both of these shows. With that said, here's my discussion with Chance, all about Apple Vision Pro. Enjoy.
And then, we're going to segue right into Vision Pro. I mean, it's a new platform to learn how to do your work on.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing for me when I saw that keynote. It's like, oh, this is a new computer platform. This isn't just like a gaming headset like my PlayStation. This is like...
And that's...
Oh, this is different.
Why Apple did not say the word headset anywhere.
No.
In the press release or during the keynote. It's a spatial computer.
Yeah, because before this, I love VR gaming. Like, I have a PSVR 2. Yeah. I had the PSVR 1. I spent a lot of time in VR for gaming. And I was actually not keen on Apple getting into the space because they don't know anything about gaming. And then I saw their approach is like, oh, this is actually augmented reality more so. I'm actually excited by what they're doing, which I wasn't expecting going into the keynote, even being a VR guy. So so one thing I've heard over and over again is if you can work on iPad, you can probably work on Vision Pro. You're one of the few people that's used the Vision Pro with the demo. I'm very jealous of. Did you see yourself working in Vision Pro now that you're kind of learning how iPad works and these apps will all run in Vision Pro, presumably?
Yes, I think so. The key is going to be which apps are available as visionOS optimized apps versus which apps are just iPad apps or iPhone apps replicated, because those apps miss out on a lot of the depth and the customization and floating window sort of functionality that native visionOS apps will have.
Right.
But I do think just the collaboration and the different ways that you can interact with things using augmented reality. So one of the things they showed off during the keynote was like the heart in front of you, like it was a med student learning about the heart, and they had the heart in front of them. And when you combine all of that together, I mean, it's an entirely new way of computing, but if you've used an iPad. I mean, the entire windowing system on visionOS is very, very similar to Stage Manager. Like, it's very clear that they drew either Stage Manager was created out of the work that on visionOS or vice versa. So it's familiar, but it's also entirely new. And from an iPad standpoint, I do think you miss out on some of the Mac-focused features of the headset, like using the headset to create an external screen from your Mac.
Yeah, it's a shame there isn't that
work
for iPad. I saw that's like, where's the iPad version of that?
It seems like what they've shown for Vision Pro and visionOS so far is very clearly painting it as first and foremost its own platform, but then as an extension, but also as an extension of the Mac, not the iPad, not the iPhone, but the Mac.
Yeah, and I don't know if they are doing that because you can't yet run Mac apps standalone and you can run iPad apps standalone. I'm not sure if that's part of it or not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think one of the productivity aspects of it that I'm most excited about is so you can use Vision Pro as an external screen for your Mac, and then also have visionOS windows around it.
Yeah, so like iMessage, you don't need the Mac version. You can
yeah. So that's the Mac external screen tie-in is one of the things I'm most excited to try, which we didn't get to try during our demos.
And conceptually, it'll be interesting because it feels like every visionOS app or iPad app, it's like I've got 10 iPads scattered across the room that I can use, and each have their own full screen app. Then the Mac will have like maybe 10 apps within that instance of that window versus every other screen is going to be its own app. So that's going to be a weird, just different paradigm, I feel.
It's going to be confusing, I think, at first. And
you're able to copy and paste between all the windows, presumably.
Yes. Yeah.
And drag stuff from window to window if you need to.
Yeah.
And there is a Files app. We saw that in the SDK that came out, which of course you need. The one thing I'm so curious about is if that battery pack, which has a USB-C port, is if that will be able to plug into like a Thunderbolt hub and just use accessories and storage and MIDI keyboards or whatever you want. Like, I'm
guessing even Apple hasn't thought about that yet.
I'm wondering, because it requires you to use that plug. Like, you can't buy different battery packs. It's like soldered in some way. So I'm wondering if there's more guts in there that they haven't really shared yet about accessories you could potentially plug in to that.
Whenever I would ask during my briefing and my demo about anything related to the battery, they would be like, shut up, like, no, like, we're not sure, like, nothing to say at this time, like.
Yeah, because it seems like the solution, instead of buying an second of those batteries, I'll be plugging a battery into a battery to...
Battery, yeah. Yeah. And that's why you mentioned, like, the gaming. Apple isn't focused on gaming right now. They showed it a very weird Apple Arcade demo.
For 2D flat games. Yeah.
Yes, and that's the extent. And there's no fitness focus. Like, they don't seem sold on the idea that anybody's going to want to game or do a lot of fitness activity with this battery pack.
Yeah, quite honestly, I'll probably keep my fitness stuff to PSVR 2, which is $600 versus my $3,500 one. I say that now, but we'll see.
The entire debate between visionOS being a productivity tool versus a entertainment platform.
Feels like we've had this discussion before.
It's it's the iPad discussion all over again. But I think this time Apple is kind of embracing both sides more so than they did with the iPad, and they're committed to both sides. I mean, during my demo, the thing I walked away with the biggest impression of was the entertainment side of things, and watching content, watching movies, watching sports, that type of stuff. But I think that's probably just because that's the wow factor.
It's the mind-blowing stuff. It's like,
and that's what Apple focused on during the demo, was they wanted my mind to be blown.
Yeah. When Avatar 2 was coming out for home release, initially there wasn't even a 3D Blu-ray version, and then they later announced that it is coming to 1080p 3D Blu-ray. It's like, thank God we can actually watch this in 3D at home. And then Apple comes out, it's like, oh, 4K 3D, yes. This is going to be the best place to watch, a 3D content.
You mentioned like your iPad being your best screen in your house. Like, you're going to need to get a Vision Pro and experience that. That 2 4K screens, like that close to your eyeballs, like.
Yeah, because I watched most of the final season Ted Lasso on my PSVR 2 just because I wanted a nice big screen, they're 2K per eye. It looked really good, but I'm imagining this just to blow it out of the water. There's no 3D content in PSVR 2 as far as that yet. I wonder if that'll actually change with Apple Vision Pro, if that content will then make its way to other headsets in some way.
So I asked kind of about this. I asked about the inverse, whether content already out there will be able to be used on Vision Pro.
Yeah.
And the answer that I got is that everything I saw during my demo was shot by Apple in a proprietary Apple format.
Except for Avatar, I'd imagine.
Even the version of Avatar that they showed was customized for Vision Pro and in Apple's own format.
Amazing. Because I have old GoPro 3D footage I shot back in like 2012. They had this rig where they sold the GoPros, 2 of them with a little tether to shoot in 3D. And I'd love to see if that could actually be outputted to Vision Pro in some way. And I want to know, what format do I need to shoot in to watch this stuff in Vision Pro? But it sounds like there isn't a solution yet.
All they told me when I asked was, we're committed to having a robust library of content. Okay. That was very, very helpful, Apple.
Yeah, and like, am I going to get free upgrades like I did with 4K, or is this a Disney Plus thing?
Because Apple's theoretically going to have to offer the ability to, or like they have to sell 3D movies, which they don't do now.
Or it'll just be for the streaming services like Disney Plus, which would be a shame.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to all the Pixar movies in 3D, because that seems like a great place for that, because those should be pretty well done there.
I wonder what is, because during the keynote, Bob Iger said Disney Plus will be there from day one.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, like, who really knows what that means?
Does that just mean 3D content in there, or does that mean their
full
full
does it just mean
experience? Yeah.
It could just be 2D, like,
it could be
watching on the wall. Like, I mean, because that was the only part of the Vision Pro keynote that was faked. Right. Like, all of the demos were real.
Yeah.
Except all the Disney stuff was just CGI.
And the whole interaction method of, hand tracking and tapping and looking at things, that felt very natural to you.
Very, very natural. I mean, there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Especially, the thing I struggled with most was realizing that it's eye tracking, not head tracking.
Yes.
So navigating between like app icons and windows, I would move my entire head.
I would do that in PSVR 2 as well. There's some games that are eye tracked. I was moving my head. It's like, I just need to move my eyes.
Yeah. The Apple guy would be like, no, just move your eyes, not your head. And I would say, are you sure? Like, I need to see. Like, it's so overwhelming the first time you put it on.
Yeah.
Like, let alone like coming straight from the keynote into like this special room, being one of the first to try it, and being one of the first times the people from Apple had demoed it. Like, I think I was overwhelmed. They were nervous because this was the first group of people from outside. Yeah.
I'm curious, like, when you're watching a movie, you have that mode where you can make it fully immersed or less immersed.
Yeah, with the digital crown.
Yeah, if you're like kind of halfway there, you're able to like look down and see like your hands, or like popcorn, or like if you have like an infant on your chest, you could see that infant through your eyes, and then be looking up and seeing the TV screen.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the whole pitch on Apple's part is that you're not meant to be taken entirely from the world around you. Like, it's like you said, it's so much more AR than VR.
Yeah.
And that's why the digital crown, the ability to control your level of immersion, is so important to the experience. And Apple's things for like breakthrough, where you can see your hand through what you're watching or what you're doing, whether it's a game or like a photo, you can reach out and show your hand and see it over the virtual content. Like balancing that line between virtual and real is something they've done really well.
Yeah.
And like I would be sitting watching something during the demo straight ahead, and I would look over to my right, and it would fade. The VR would fade out, and I would see the guy next to me as he started to talk.
Yeah.
Then I looked back towards the wall or the screen, and he would fade back out, and I would be immersed again. Like it's not only like the immersion of the digital crown, but also just how intelligent it was about that type of stuff. Somebody comes into your field of view, you're going to see them. Like nobody's going to sneak up on you.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to see how well this performs at night. I know.
Yeah.
My vision is terrible at night, so this will probably be better than my own vision at night, I'm guessing. But I know cameras can struggle at night sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the demos were in a well-lit room, which is...
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. And do you wear glasses or contacts?
During night, I need them. During daytime, I'm good.
Okay, yeah.
So VR is like the worst case scenario for that, because like you're in pitch black basically, so like I need correction when I'm in VR, but I don't when I'm outside sunny day.
So when you buy Vision Pro, you'll have to pay for the lenses.
Yes, I'm so curious what the third party market will be on that too, because there are magnets built into this thing, and that seems like it'll be so easy for third parties to make their own version.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll probably go with Zeiss because those will be the nicest ones probably.
Yeah, they'll be expensive, but
yeah. But I hope
starting at $3,500.
Yeah, and I hope I can just give them what lenses I want versus needing to go out and get a prescriptions. Like I know my numbers. Like just let me order. We'll see.
Yeah, I think some of that depends on regulation, doesn't it?
It's weird because there are websites where Zenny Optics you can just order with your numbers, and then other places like Warby Parker they need a prescription. Like it's so weird. Some companies get around it and some others don't. Yeah. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
It'll be because there's the ability for lenses to be swapped, and then they also said the headband is going to be swappable or so third parties will be able to make headbands
mask as well. I think will be
the light shields or whatever.
Which I'm so curious to how they attach that, because the PSVR 2 one, it's kind of a hassle to take that on and off. I imagine Apple's way will just be almost magnets maybe. I don't know what they'll do.
When they put it on me, they basically put it on for me.
Did you actually hold it, or they just kind of put it on? Did you actually hold it in your hands, or was it mostly?
I did very briefly when I was taking it off, and then the light shield and it all kind of started to come unconnected, and the guy was like, "Hey, just hand it to me." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
It was one thing they said too is that they didn't have all of the sizes of light shield, or is it light seals?
Yeah.
Sorry,
so
light seals
was not a perfect fit because of that, probably.
For me, it was pretty good, but I know other people have had some problems, and we also had the top strap, which apparently they might not include when they ship it to everybody. They might just include the headband, but
it's funny. PSVR 2 does not have a top strap. A lot of people have been jerry rigging them on because they do find it more comfortable.
Oh, really? It does help distribute the weight better.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah.
Vision Pro is heavy.
Yeah, aluminum, right? I mean,
yeah,
it looks less bulky though than some of the gaming headsets, thinner profile and all that.
It's very sleek, and the curved glass screen on the front. It's it looks so much better than any other headset I've seen, just in terms of a design standpoint. You just have to hopefully that they didn't focus so much on that design that it makes it less comfortable. But
plastic's used for a reason in some of these headsets.
Yeah, it's the same thing we heard about AirPods Max.
Which I find them comfortable.
I do
very
too.
long because the headband they have on that distributes it well.
Yep.
The thing I'm most curious to try this out is out on my porch outside, because an iPad and a Mac, the sun's going to make it so it's not a great experience to work. But if you're completely blocked from the light, if you're able to just set, this seems you have infinite room to work with all these virtual windows. It seems like this will be the perfect relaxing outside computer to work on.
Yeah, that would be cool because they haven't shown, I don't think, anything outside of a house or an office.
Yeah, I imagine heat would be the only concern. If it's super hot and sunny, that might overheat the headset. But if it's like a fall day or something, that could be nice.
There's a lot. I think what's fun is that there's just still a lot we don't know, and there's probably a lot that even Apple doesn't know yet.
Yeah.
On how it's going to market it, what features it's going to make available versus hold back, and for $3,500, I mean, they aren't expecting a lot of people to buy this.
No.
So they're going to listen to feedback.
I'm curious about their Apple Card plans for this, if they'll be 12 or 24 or what their...
72.
Right,
maybe.
yeah. Because Macs are just 12 months. Macs are 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
The Apple Watch used to be 24, but they're scaling that back to 12, sadly.
12, yep.
So the iPhone's the only one that's 24. So I'm curious if that'll be part of the story for making this easier to swallow for some people.
I guess it's also, going to depend on supply. They don't need to worry about
It'll sell out instantly, I think.
Yeah.
I want to get this on day one because it could be a while after that, I think.
Yeah. I'm going to buy one.
Yeah. I've not discussed this with my family yet, but this is my next computer purchase.
I'm hoping to buy one, but I'm also hoping that we'll be blessed with a review unit.
Yes.
So we'll see.
Yeah. As far as work environments we mentioned outside, are there places that you could see yourself working that you don't currently because of the flexibility of Vision Pro or needing more space?
I don't know. It's going to be hard because the idea of taking this thing and going into like a coffee shop and working sounds so cool.
Yeah.
But
all the people walking by, you'd have to put it in like travel mode or something.
Yeah. And I don't know. This is a tricky subject because the biggest part of me wants to be like, yeah, but you're going to go sit in a coffee shop and wear that and look like an idiot. And it's like,
yeah, but
that's a factor.
Yeah,
that's a factor. Like,
the older I get, the less concerned I get about. Like if I was 18, I'd be more concerned.
I guess I haven't found that level of at peace yet. But
yeah,
even as simple as like when I'm not in my office with this 6K display and I'm at home, I could just put on the headset and replicate a pretty good experience in terms of screen real estate. Like that's going to be that's enticing.
Yeah.
The plane use case is pretty enticing. That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
I could see it if you're in like a passenger in a car.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we know much about how exactly that'll work yet, but
right, because there's something about they're not wanting speed or
but and the biggest thing though I think that I've seen in Apple's demos that it's going to be cool is like hotel room working, like
right,
working while traveling when you're not on the plane.
Yeah,
that because right now I know people who travel with like a little portable external screen or they use their iPad as like a sidecar for their Mac. But theoretically, Vision Pro can give you a pretty expansive workspace right in a hotel. Yeah,
the thing I really hope we see eventually is like some kind of Apple Pencil for Vision Pro where I could have a digital sheet of paper on my desk in front of me and be sketching on it. That's not there yet, but at some point I have to imagine they'll get there.
Yeah, because right now the voice or the input method we got to try was just the tapping of the fingers,
right,
and all of that. Then there's voice control,
and then there's keyboard and trackpad. Which I think I'll definitely be using that as a keyboard and trackpad for.
Yeah, which I'm curious to see how good the voice input stuff is. We didn't get to try it, and there was this story about how the team working on the headset got so fed up with Siri that they wanted to build their own version of Siri just for the headset.
Yeah.
And Apple was like, no, like you're going to use Siri. And Siri's great. So that makes me worry a little bit, but.
Yeah, and the quieter the environment, the better, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I will say, like, the gesture system and all of that was it was so intuitive. Just tapping, looking at something, tapping your thumb and your index finger together to select it. Pinching to scroll up and down.
It seems to be great. As far so if I have like a child sleeping at me, I can't put an iPad really at a way or a laptop, but I can't just have my hand here and be tapping.
I was impressed with like the field of view for how well it was able to see my hands. Like they could be like on my lap and I could tap and scroll and it would pick it up perfectly.
Yeah.
I was a little worried that I'd have to like hold my hand in certain spots, but all of those cameras, they
imagine
really
it doesn't
help.
go behind you, but that wouldn't be really comfortable.
No. You can file that feedback for them.
Right. I want to be able to just scratching whatever my back for input. Yeah, and I am a little surprised there aren't haptics in the headset. PSVR 2 does this, and they are nice for subtle kind of things. I wonder if they experiment with that at all.
That's got to be part of the gaming story too about why they're not focusing on gaming. Is because haptics are such as like Beat Saber. Beat Saber needs the haptics.
Yeah, if I'm hitting something, I want that rumble that I hit it. I'm super curious if Sony would let them use the Sense controllers to just let them use DualSense. I don't know if they would be open to selling more Sense controllers to Vision Pro users or not.
For some of like the more basic haptics and like sensation, I did notice that just the combination of being so immersed and having spatial audio, like your mind plays tricks on you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like one of the demos was I held out my hand and a butterfly flew like towards me and landed on my finger.
Yeah.
And like obviously the butterfly wasn't really there. But between like the sound effects of spatial audio and seeing like it looking like I was like in the desert with a butterfly, like it felt like I felt the butterfly land on my hand. If that makes any sense at all.
It does.
I sound like a crazy person. But.
Yeah, when I first tried Oculus at like a PAX East for the first time in the early days, they had this demo of this little toy soldier knight, and he ran up on my shoulder, and it felt like there was something on my shoulder. So I do, like, that is a thing. That is for sure real.
Your mind plays tricks on you.
It does, yeah.
Well, and your mind is smart enough to fill kind of the gaps that that your senses can have too. Like, it's a thing.
Yeah, and with these, so PSVR 2's 2K per eye. I'm just, and I like text is okay in there. I'm just imagining like reading and stuff like a double that's just gonna look great. Just like and it's only 90 hertz refresh rate most of the time apparently, but I didn't notice any. It seemed pro motion to me. I mean, and when you're doing the augmented reality stuff, the low latency of the cameras and all of that coming together, it's even if you don't like Vision Pro from like a product standpoint, you don't understand why somebody needs this or how you're going to use it, you can look at all of the technology that Apple's packed inside that thing and just like it's incredible. It should impress everybody. Yeah. I saw some demos Steve was doing on Mastodon with like broadcast on a table in front of him. And it looked like you could tap the buttons. I don't know if you're actually going to be able to tap buttons or if you'll need to look at it and do the finger gesture thing.
I think there's no direct interaction with anything.
That's what I thought.
It's all through.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can like directly interact with will be the on-screen keyboard, which nobody has gotten to try. But
you won't need to look and do the tap thing. You'll actually be able to.
I think so.
Okay. I would love a full-size keyboard just flat on the desk in front of me. That could be. That could be decent, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The input methods are really cool, but it's a new platform. So I think developers are going to have to learn how to build their apps right, and Apple's going to have to respond to that feedback. Yeah,
and I wonder if they'll get tiring using eye tracking for everything.
I worried about that, yeah.
So we'll see how... Yeah, I mean, it's a brand new platform.
All of the demos were only 30 minutes, so I think once we all get our hands on it for longer periods of time, we'll be able to have more feedback. And also, Mark Gurman was reporting this weekend that Apple is expanding like the testing inside the company to like thousands of employees instead of like dozens.
Yeah, have so them that's work in give it them, and see how it goes for them.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I went into the demo being a little skeptical. I didn't understand why Apple had devoted like 10 years to making this product, but I was blown away. And I think the praise among people who got the demo is almost universal. I don't think anyone really
that was
had a bad
surprising to me.
experience.
Like, pretty much everyone was blown away.
Yeah. The only negative take I saw was in the New York Times, which, whatever. Like,
yeah, a lot of people are just complaining about the price, which it's expensive,
Yeah.
but from my understanding, the
version
tech in
1.
there is expensive to put in there.
Yeah.
Um,
Apple can't make the affordable version without making this version first. Like, that's what it is.
yeah, it seems like this is to me at least, this seems like the very best version 1 of anything they've done, just because the minimum
Yes.
experience needs to be so good for it to work at all.
And you need to you have to ship. They could have waited another year and maybe sold it for $3,000,
Right.
but
They
had
the
to ship something.
real world.
They need the feedback. They need the apps. They need the content. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they are shipping something, and we'll see. But
Yeah. They were just waiting on
Early
Avatar 2 to
2024.
be released so they could ship this.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So you're day one of this. You weren't prior, but you think you're going to try to get
Yes.
one of these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And with the intention of using it as one of your computers where, sometimes you'll work on the Mac, other times iPad, other times this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, more so than anything, I think Vision Pro tying into the Mac will be a big part of it.
Yeah. I am
because,
curious,
especially at the
a
start.
headless Mac Mini, if it'll work.
I've heard,
Yeah, it'll work just fine, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been wondering that same thing because I've got the Mac Studio right here.
Right.
Like, that's headless, or could be. Like,
Yeah. Like, yeah. And like desk setups, like, do you just, I'd want the screen, all the screens gone and just like use that instead.
sit at an empty desk and then.
Yeah, I almost need so I've got my desk with my screens in front of me. I almost need like a second desk behind me where I just look out in the rest of the room with nothing in front of me. Almost
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
but
yeah,
I think we'll learn more between now and when it ships. I know Apple has some more things planned, I think, in terms of press opportunities and then, of course, developer opportunities. So
yeah, I'll be curious.
Exciting.
Yeah, Obsidian doing some crazy Vision Pro thing where you're seeing the links between things across your room. And
hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah,
might as well.
Well, cool. And thank you, Chance, for your time. This has been a great chat.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And where can folks find your daily podcast and happy hour and everything you're up to?
Well, you can follow along with me. I'm on Mastodon, Twitter, and Instagram at Chance H. Miller. And I'll share links on those platforms, just about everything. But so just go to 9to5Mac and find my author page. We've got a website dedicated to the podcast in the nav bar. Just tap on that. And yeah, I encourage you to listen to Daily and Happy Hour. I think they're very different podcasts, but they're fun. And I'm really excited to be doing Happy Hour.
Awesome.
I think it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, it's longer form shows are definitely fun to do, especially if you've been doing the daily. Yeah.
Yep. It's different. It's
someone to talk to.
Some adjustment. Yeah. It's not just me screaming into the void.
Yes.
Mayo has to listen.
Well, thank you, Chance. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Well, that's been a discussion with Chance. Once again, catch our full discussion about the iPad over on the iPad Pros podcast. My thanks to Chance for his time recording. My thanks to you for your time and attention tuning in. Support the podcast over patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. My thanks to everyone that supports the show. Even $1 a month goes a long way with helping the production of this podcast. With that said, I'll talk with everyone again real soon.